What's up, everyone? Thanks so much for joining. This is Noa Dalzell from SB Nation and CLNS Media, coming at you live from the American Airlines Center, sitting in the press room. Let me know if you can't hear me for some reason. I'm having a little bit of issue with audio, but we should be good. But I appreciate all of you for joining. We're about 3.5 hours from tip-off here in Dallas. And just looking forward to seeing how Porzingis is looking. I think first and foremost, everybody's kind of wondering about that. And then obviously to get the show on the road because this is a really critical game 3. And so with that, we'll do the same drill as usual. Feel free to write any questions, comments in the chat. I've been falling behind on them these last few games, but I'll do my best to stay more up to date. So when we wrap up, we're kind of able to go through all the questions. But yeah, I think there's, they just kind of opened the doors for media, so everybody's kind of coming in. I'm in the press room, so there might be some people coming in behind me. You might hear some background noise. I apologize in advance for that. But I think right now, there was no media availability today, so there was no new information around Porzingis. The Mavs and the Celtics held a shoot-around, but the Celtics didn't have anybody available for media, nor were we able to watch anything. So I know a lot of people were wondering about how Porzingis looked. I did see someone on Twitter posted, I think a Mavericks reporter, him just walking by. He didn't seem to have a limp or anything like that. So that is certainly a good sign that he was just able to kind of move around and doesn't seem to have anything bothering him visibly. Obviously, he has what Joe Mazzulla has termed a serious injury. And so, yeah, I'm going to just kind of provide my perspective or my thoughts for Game 3 tonight. We'll keep this one on the relatively short side. So feel free to ask questions and anything you'd like to hear. I'm happy to go over. But I think what I expected from the jump is that the Celtics will split these next 2 games. That's still my prediction. I think that we're not going to see a sweep. I never thought that we were going to see a sweep just because I think Dallas has enough talent and experience between Kyrie and Luka to not kind of fold like that. That being said, you just never know what could happen here, right? Like, this is still early days. I wrote an article for Celtics blog that went out this morning about how only 5 teams in NBA history have come back from being down 0-2 in the finals. And 2 of those teams included Kyrie Irving and Jrue Holiday. So obviously that kind of is a unique situation where you have 2 guys who both were part of these historic, NBA finals comebacks. And so that has certainly stood out. And I think it's something that is, hasn't been discussed a whole lot, but it's certainly something that people are aware of because Jrue Holiday knows, he was down 0-2, and they were able to come back and answer, win 4 in a row versus the Phoenix Suns, which were a regular season very good team. And then obviously Kyrie Irving was part of the 2016 comeback, in which the Cavs were down 0-2 and then again 3-1, and obviously was an instrumental part of, what is broadly considered the greatest comeback in NBA Finals history. And so, yeah, to me, I think those are all things that, are on everybody's mind. It's part of why I think the Celtics are taking this one seriously. They're not, they're not fooling around. I don't think they feel particularly comfortable. Everybody talked about it yesterday when we did have a ton of media availability. Jaylen Brown talked about how, the pain of previous losses, previous heartbreaks, is what motivates him and what has made him be what we've seen from him today. And what that's a player that is, in route to potentially being a finals MVP. And then, yeah, I caught up with O'Shea Brissett and Xavier Tillman yesterday. I posted some of those clips on Twitter, and you can see a little bit more from those conversations, but basically they're ready to go if need be. And I think if Porzingis is not available tonight, there's a chance we see one of them. I'd probably imagine it would be more likely to be Tillman over Brissett, but you just never know. It's also very possible that we would see Luke Kornet minutes. And I didn't talk to him yesterday, but I think he's somebody else that Joe Mazzulla has obviously relied on. So I would imagine we don't have any additional information about Kristaps Porzingis and his availability until literally game time. And I think he's going to be questionable. We're going to talk to Joe in a couple of hours for his pregame presser. I don't think he's going to have much to say. He normally deflects and kind of doesn't provide a ton of clarity when it comes to injuries, in particular this kind of thing. He might say, like, we'll come out and shoot around and we'll see how he feels and how he's doing. And so, yeah, that's kind of my thinking about this game. I'll start off with some questions. I see here Tristan asked, do you think Kornet plays over Tillman? I tend to think so. I think a lot of people were really excited about the Tillman acquisition in the midseason, and we're excited about the prospect of him coming in. He's very switchable. Obviously, he's had experience playing in the playoffs for Memphis. He's guarded Jokic, Anthony Davis. Like he's a pretty good track record for matching up with people. But I think since he got here midseason, he really hasn't played very much, and so there's not. I don't think there's much reason to think that this is somebody that they trust to play, significantly, or at least we saw a couple minutes from during the playoffs, but we haven't seen a whole lot. So my instinct is that Kornet is someone that in bigger moments, Joe has given him a bigger load. They're both healthy right now. They're both ready to go. And I don't think either of them know who would be the one to step up. It might be like what the game or the situation calls for. And so, for example, I was talking to O'Shea and to Xavier yesterday, and I was asking them, you guys normally get like a heads up before you play in a game? Like, if there's a game that you haven't played in a few weeks, and tonight you're going to play 8 minutes, like, is that something that you're told in advance, or is it all of a sudden you're just jumping in? And they both said like they never know in advance. So I thought that was kind of funny that it's one of those things where they're totally off, kind of have no idea, and they just come in, right? So, okay, none of the comments were loading, so I thought nobody was on, and now I'm seeing all the comments. So I was like, how long am I going to talk about Kornet or Tillman? Okay, I was thinking, I was like, did I say something wrong yesterday that made nobody want to come back? Okay, now I'm seeing all the comments, and I'm seeing the viewers. I think I was having a little bit of a technical glitch, so that's a relief. Sound level a little low. I will try to speak up. I'm just trying to be quiet and mindful, just because of the fact that there are a ton of reporters around me, and I didn't find the best spot, so I apologize. I see Jack here is talking about mind games. The Celtics are playing mind games with KP. So much conflicting information. I am with this theory. I think that the whole way that this was addressed yesterday, was a little bit bizarre. I talked about this on our podcast for CLNS. I feel like they sent an email out. They said it was serious. They made it sound really scary, and then they had a bunch of people come in and talk about how they're optimistic. They had Al Horford said that. Sam Hauser said he's working hard. KP himself said I'll do everything to play. So I don't know. It was kind of a weird situation. I went on a bunch of radio shows yesterday and said I don't think he's going to play. And then as I was going to dinner, I just completely had a change of intuition, and I was like, he's for sure playing tomorrow. So that's just my intuition. It's not like a professional opinion or anything like that. Question about lineup. I don't think we're going to see much of anybody. I wouldn't be surprised if we literally saw a little bit of Luke, and other than that, just more minutes for Tatum, Horford, the center starters, because this is kind of what it's been all about. This entire year, these guys have gotten a rest. These guys have played relatively limited minutes, and it's been all up for this moment. And when I say limited, I mean when they had that 10-game Eastern Conference Finals lead, Jaylen, Jayson, they took rest days. They weren't amongst the league leaders in minutes per game. So I think this is where you cash out and they play a ton. So yeah, that's that, at least for me. And someone asked if it's mind games again. Everybody's kind of wondering that. I don't think it's they're fabricating anything, but I think maybe they know for sure whether or not he's playing tonight. What's your incentive for saying it? That's been my thing all along. It's there's just no reason to say, yes, he's playing tonight, or yes, he's not, because the Mavericks can spend the next couple of hours trying to figure it out themselves, right? So that's at least my perspective on that. Mike, I'm glad that they're breaking up your afternoon. Me as well. They break up my work day too, so it's perfect. Do you think O'Shea Brissett can step up? I'm a big O'Shea Brissett fan. I think what he's done for this team he's been really effective in the minutes that he's played. He's just limited offensively, and he doesn't have the size that someone like Luke or Tillman has. So I would love a O'Shea Brissett stretch where he's really impactful for 5 minutes, or Tillman. I just think in general, they're going to win the championship. It's pretty cool during the finals. A couple of these guys have their big moments. So that's my perspective on it. Most likely we're not going to see him tonight, but if we did and he grabbed a couple of offensive rebounds and dove on the floor, that, I think that kind of makes the story of the Celtics team even more compelling. So that's my thought on it. Did KP practice? I don't know. It wasn't open to media today, but there was videos of him walking to practice. So I think he did something. It wasn't he was in street clothes. I do think Tatum will play more of the 5. Someone's asking about that. I don't think he loves playing the 5, but you're right that he's been the main person breaking up lobs. I think he can guard bigs. He was guarding Gafford at points. His versatility defensively is super understated. I think people don't appreciate it enough. They don't acknowledge it. And in these moments, maybe that's the solution here. Just kind of shifting him. I saw today Sean Grandy posted that when Tatum is off the floor, there's a substantial, it's pretty much equal. Like I think they're at a 0 plus minus. Then he's on the floor during this playoff run. The Celtics are at plus 155. So they'll keep him on as much as they can. Neil says that the injury is able to be played on, but there's a risk of a dislocation of a posterior tibialis. I don't know if that's really serious, but I do think that this is one of those moments where Porzingis will take a risk because he talked about it all year. We asked him about it. I specifically remember I was on the Atlanta road trip. We asked him about how the medical staff has dealt with his injuries, and he said they've been really careful, and I really appreciate them. But in the playoffs, these like 50-50 calls, I'm going to play. And like right now, I'm not. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I wonder if this will come into play. And then obviously the soleus strain, he was not able to play for a long time. And maybe he was able to during the Eastern Conference Finals towards the tail end there, but they didn't need him, right? So I think tonight's going to be one of those nights where I do think if it's a 50-50 call, he's playing, even if there's some risk. I don't know what that injury is. Hopefully it's not too serious and he can recoup from the offseason in case it happens, but knock on wood, hopefully he's okay. Someone's asking if Kata will play. I don't think so. He's like, again, I talked to Kata and just Jaden Springer yesterday. You can find some of those clips on my Twitter. I think those are two guys that are part of the future. They're two guys that have been super locked in on the bench or coming in early, working with the developmental staff. Like I absolutely think that they're locked in and kind of committed to being ready if their number is called. And Springer said, even if it's for 20 seconds, like maybe they call on me to guard someone for 20 seconds because Jrue Holiday has 5 fouls, like something like that. It would take a lot for Kata to check into the game at this point. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, I love doing the non-rotational player interviews. This was one of the things that we were able to do only in the NBA Finals. Otherwise, you have to request through PR, or I go to main Celtics games a lot. There, it's a little bit easier to get interviews there since there's no other reporters usually. But I did interview yesterday. You can find on my Twitter, and I'll keep posting some more clips. I interviewed O'Shea, Xavier Tillman, and who else? Jaden Springer and Neemias Queta. And I actually chatted with Drew Peterson and JD for a while, but it was off the record, so I didn't get to post any of those. But I will try. There's another media day tomorrow. I'll try to see if I can grab these 3 guys and I'll post some clips. And if there's any specific questions you want to ask, feel free to DM me on Twitter if there's specific questions you want asked of them. Someone is saying, Neil saying that he might later in the series. I would not be surprised if maybe they see if they really need him. Like if they win tonight, they don't really need him. But if they lose tonight, maybe he comes back on game 4. Again, this is the first stretch where there's only a 1-day break in between games. So certainly that makes an impact as well. Let's keep looking here. Big question of the day, Trevor asks. If not Porzingis, does JT break out of his shooting funk tonight? I'm going to put in my prediction. I feel like I've been pretty good with my prediction so far. I think Tatum's going to have a good night tonight, a good offensive performance as far as scoring goes. I think he's going to go for like 34 or something on like efficiently. I just think he's due for one. And I also don't believe that it's anything that Dallas has done that has made him miss those shots. It's not like the defense has been something that he's not used to. I mean, yes, they're forcing him into passes, but like the shots that he's taken, he's missed open layup, missed open three. So I don't think it's going to go on forever. And I feel like the Celtics fan base feels like Tatum has been off the entire postseason, but he actually really hasn't been. Like he hasn't had his best efficiency, and I'm sure everybody's seeing the shooting charts, and they're not the best. But versus Indiana, he was actually quite effective. Jaylen Brown just had an even better series, so that's why he got kind of all the limelight. And then during the regular season, he actually had a very good shooting season. So it's not that this entire year he can't buy a bucket. It just he's had stretches, and he's certainly in one of those right now. So I'm locking it in right now. Good game for Tatum. Again, I don't sports bet, but if you're looking for some free advice, it's my guess. Don't blame me if it doesn't work out. Which players have been hitting their shots in shoot-arounds in Dallas? Honestly, this doesn't mean anything. I've watched shoot-arounds and warm-ups all the time, and usually people that are shooting like on fire in warm-ups, then they'll come out and like be terrible during the games. Like there have been so many times where I've been like, Jayson Tatum cannot miss. Like he's gonna go for 40 tonight, and then he like misses his first 10 shots. So I will say actually people have generally not been shooting well in shoot-arounds for Dallas. Like I watched Kyrie shoot around yesterday, he was like missing everything, but also to not extrapolate too much from that because I've been on that side, and it doesn't usually. I've been on both sides, and it usually doesn't mean much. Okay, I see some comments about talking fast. I will try to talk a little bit slower. We are up against the clock, so I'm trying to get as many answers in as possible. Let's see. I'm going to scroll through some of these. Yeah, certainly. I think the Mavs catch a break if you go down the bench, because you're no longer have a five threat offense. I think one of the things that are really exciting about the Celtics as a media member, and one of the things that's made them really really difficult to guard is that you don't have any liabilities on the court offensively. And Tillman and Cornette are obviously that. A lot of people have been asking, why doesn't Cornette shoot threes in games? He has been asked this question. I've asked him this question. Other people have asked him this question. He's like never answered this straight up. So I don't know. He's been like, oh, it's just not my role on the team. I want to be like, are you not allowed to shoot threes in games? Maybe I will one day. But he still warms up with them all the time. He practices in warm-ups. He shoots around. Like every time I see him at practice, he's hitting threes. So it's like still a part of his routine. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. Oh yeah, everybody gets a ring. Everybody on the team gets a ring. Even Lamar Stevens and who else got traded? Delano Banton get a ring because they were on the team earlier in the season. So certainly guys on the current team that don't play a lot are getting a ring. Yeah, I see someone else asked a similar question. Yeah, absolutely. I'll try to do tomorrow if I'm able to. I think Pritchard might end up playing more minutes tonight. If KP's out, it opens up more minutes than everybody needs. You wouldn't think of Pritchard as like the substitution for that because obviously they play a different role, but maybe you go a little bit smaller and he does see a few extra minutes. At the end of the day, you're pretty much not subbing out like Jalen, Jayson, Jrue, and Derek White at this point. Like they're playing like 44 minutes tonight or something like that, or 40 minutes or, in that range. And so the available minutes are more limited, but now if you have one rotation guy out, it opens the door for things like this. I do think he really meant it. He would like double down on Porzingis about Porzingis. I think he's going to do everything he can to try to play tonight. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Jordan, yeah, absolutely. I can talk to Jordan. I will also plug a friend of mine, Justin Turpin, who is for WEI Radio and writes for their online. He did a story with Jordan Walsh about being back in Dallas because Jordan's from here. So this is kind of exciting for him that he gets to play. So I would recommend you check that out, but I will also try to grab Jordan at practice tomorrow. It's kind of cool. It's like they're all just hanging out, all the bench players. And if you don't go to the main press conference rooms, which I haven't been doing because you can just watch those on YouTube later the way you guys do, then you can just go grab any of the players. And so that's why I grabbed some of the bench guys rather than going to a presser. Someone's asking about the general mood in Dallas. I think I've talked to some of the Dallas media members. I do think they're like optimistic just because they're looking at the numbers and they see that this team is a lot better when Porzingis is on the court, and certainly in this matchup he has been. I still think the general feel I get is that people think the Celtics have this one, like they're going to win this series, but I think that that margin of error, like that level of confidence that something crazy could happen, certainly like this helps that. And usually to pull off these comebacks, like something needs to happen, right? Everybody talks about the 3-1 comeback versus the Cavs. And then usually people bring up the fact that Draymond Green got suspended for a game. I think like a Porzingis or something like that getting hurt is one of those kind of prerequisites for a comeback like this. Like something needs to happen. Again, I don't know that that's what this is going to mean, but just my perspective. Some predictions for a Tatum legendary game. I wouldn't be shocked. My prediction for tonight, I think they're going to split these two games. That's been my theory. So I don't know if I'm like 50-50 on who wins tonight, honestly. So I don't know. Talk faster. That's the first I've ever got him out before. So many clips of Tatum being lights out in practice. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, that's why people always ask me, like, oh, you're early. Like, how's Derek White looking? I'm like, he's looking great because he always looks great because he's a great shooter, and then the game starts. That's a different type of rhythm than just having a good rhythm shooting around, right? So someone is asking about Kristaps Porzingis and who's going to pick up his minutes. I think I've touched on this. It's going to be mostly bench guys. So I think a little bit of Al, and then like Luke or someone like that is going to step up, and then probably another couple minutes for all the main starters. Like it just kind of, takes a little bit out of the equation as far as everybody else to step up a little bit. Okay. I don't know what this is. Adam Mares. I got to check this out. Thank you. Thank you for the pace comment. Much needed. I do know I should speak a little bit slower. It's just this environment where I'm talking to myself also. It's conducive to me speaking really quick. Luis is asking about another big Jrue game. They're going to have to do something about Jrue Holiday to prevent that because he's in a real good rhythm right now. He's been super effective around the basket. He's shooting lights out. He's feeling confident. Defensively, he's been a menace. He's been awesome. And so to me, like this is a natural thing. Like he's on course to have another big game. And Dallas, the way they're guarding the Celtics right now, they're like kind of accepting that and they're willing to live with that. And so I don't know. I wouldn't. I would try to take Jrue out of it. I would not want Jrue or Derek to get easy open looks. Obviously, you have to kind of give something up, but I think the Celtics are at their best when Jrue or Derek are having a big night, more so than Tatum having a big night. So that's my perspective. I don't know. People always ask to predict like who's gonna have a big night tonight. I always say like the beauty of this team is that you don't know who's gonna step up because it could be anybody. And tonight's leading scorer, it could be literally any of the starters. Probably not Al, but he's led the team in scoring I think once this postseason. Question about the American Airlines Center. So I've never watched a game here. So in a couple hours, I'll be able to share more. And tomorrow when I go live from practice, I will definitely have more information. As far as the media goes, we had a nice big room here. We have some pressers. It works out pretty well. I think everybody's been nice and friendly, and it was pretty easy to find. It's super hot out. So we had to wait in line today. And I was like, this is not Boston. It was like 90 degrees. So that was I guess I won't complain, but I'll be sure to report tonight. I'll post some clips of like just the general atmosphere. I'm sure some of you guys saw the clip from Derek Lively being like it was not that loud at TD Garden. I was surprised. So maybe I want to see what he's used to. Maybe it's super loud in Dallas. I don't know. I've been to a bunch of away arenas. I haven't been overly impressed by any of them. Cleveland was the one where there was a ton of noise, but it was like synthetic noise. So it wasn't like the crowd was being really loud. The crowd was loud, but it was like a lot of like the Jumbotron, like in arena stuff. So that was always like TD Garden does like very little with that stuff, which they probably could do more, but I think they just have such good fans that they know they don't really need to pump anything. I could definitely talk faster than Missoula. I will say though, when we transcribe interviews, like sometimes we split it up where different reporters will transcribe different people's interviews at the podium, and if you got Missoula for the night, that's like you got the short end of the stick because he's really hard to transcribe. Like Tatum's really easy. You can like type in live time what he's saying. With Missoula, it's like he's going a million miles an hour. Yeah, everybody's seeing this video of KP walking into practice. He was smiling so much. The big thing I'll say about KP is that he's always smiling. Like he's literally always smiling. So I have no idea like what his smiles mean. Let's go Mavs. I'm cool with Mavs fans joining. Like this is my first week doing this podcast, so I'll take any and all listeners. Yeah, come in, come hang. And yeah, let's see. I feel bad. I want people to know that they can walk behind me. It's like totally doesn't matter, but I feel like people think I'm like on TV or something. I don't think so. Someone's asking about Tatum's awful shooting in the finals. I don't know. I guess 8 games is a sample size, but I don't think this is like he's choking or like he's super nervous about this or I still think it's one of those things like 2011 LeBron, like that didn't end up being a reflection of LeBron in the finals historically. Like I think at the end of Tatum's career, when it's all said and done, I don't think he's going to have a bad reputation for his shooting in the finals. So yeah, that's my take. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he has a terrible series and he can never play in the finals again. But I just think a lot of times people want to like make indictments on people like Al's too old or Sam Hauser can't play in the playoffs, and a lot of times it's like not about a specific sweeping generalization, but it's just like this moment in time this player is struggling. Okay, so my affirmation on my prediction. Listen, I would take obviously a sweep would be awesome, but I think a split would be good as well. You just don't want to go back. You want to go back up with the opportunity to win in Game 5. First of all, yeah, appreciate you appreciating the live updates, and I've not met any heckling fans. Honestly, the people that heckle the most are people in Boston because I feel like sometimes Celtics fans I see like will recognize me from like my YouTubes or something. I have nobody here like I would know, so they're like jokingly heckling, but we'll see. Maybe the crowds can be crazy. I actually look forward to it because it's not one of the arenas that I've ever been to. I hadn't been to like that many arenas. I've been to like maybe 9 or 8 of them at this point, so I still got to get to all of them. That's a good point by Jack here. I mean, listen, the Celtics are coming off a game where they shot 26% from 3. So they can only go up from here, right? I mean, I guess they could be worse, but I think they're going to go up from here. They're going to shoot better. In a 45% three-point shooting night, they're super, super hard to beat in that case. I think that's what made Game 2 one of my favorite victories that I've watched in a long time for the Celtics is the fact that they were able to overcome a poor shooting night. And so to me, it's like if they're shooting well, it's almost impossible. And if they're not shooting well, in the past, it's been a Celtics loss. But I think they're so much more dynamic this year that it's not. They don't require 3-point shooting to pull off wins, and that's what's. I mean, that they did last year, but I have a lot more confidence in the 2024 Celtics' ability to pull off a win while shooting poorly than the 2023 Celtics. Us folks in the chat need to stay focused and keep up. I think it's a little bit of a middle ground. I've been getting the feedback my whole life that I talk too fast, so I understand. Does the Celtics media team get a ring? They should. They're like awesome. They've done. I think they've been perfect for this year's run. Is the fact that we also have a historically incredible like media team with all the videos. If you haven't watched like the All In episodes, they're incredible. I watched one. I haven't watched. I think I haven't watched all of them, but there was one about family and Derek White and his kids were like the opener. I watched that as I was going into Game 2 in the Garden. Like I had like chills. It was so awesome. Yeah. You're right. I mean, they can't double Jrue with the dunker. I think they need to just not sell out as hard as they are. But there's not like on paper, there's like no way to beat the Celtics. Obviously, they've been beaten many times, but I feel like you can't say like, oh, this is going to be the game plan. Like you just have to play a really good all-around basketball game. Like Miami beat the Celtics once in the playoffs. They had a historically good shooting game. Cavs game, the Cavs played really well game 2, and then also obviously the Celtics struggled. Like you kind of have to hope they're going to beat themselves a little bit. That's kind of that's the I mean, obviously you can't tell your players that, but that's one of the things. Are there any other female colleagues? Not really. I mean, Abby Chin is the sideline reporter, so obviously she's like the one other woman on the beat. But I have noticed in the national space, there's a lot more women. Like just since covering the finals and being around, like I've seen a lot of women, like the women you would guess from like TV. A lot of them, like I've seen like Rachel Nichols and like Malika Andrews. I haven't like talked to them much, but it is definitely a male-dominated space. But I also work in the political field, so I am used to that. That's a good question. It honestly feels completely surreal. Like it's my first year doing this. I hope it never gets old. I've been talking to other people who's their first year doing it. We were kind of like pinching ourselves, being like, I cannot believe that we're here and you're getting paid to do this and you're able to go in and talk to players. And like, I don't know, I've been watching basketball my whole life. So I can't, it's probably the coolest thing I've ever done. So I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity and for the opportunity to like share it with people because I was always a huge consumer of media. Like I'm the kind of person that like would join something like this. So I appreciate the fact that people are interested and want to have questions to ask. And that's why I always ask I always ask questions of people. I always try to respond to DMs and things. Sometimes I don't see all the messages because I post a lot of tweets. I have a lot of notifications, but I'm going to pause quickly and just say, if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please like, comment, subscribe. It's Noa Dalzell NBA or live from the NBA Finals with Noa Dalzell. And then also check out CLNS Media if you're not watching it there. We're doing so much content right now, just breaking down games, recaps, previews. Plus, it's the place for all the full pressers. So you can literally find all the pressers like right as they happen. So if you're trying to catch like what's going on, go to CLNS. And if you want to, I'm going to be starting to post more exclusive content on my YouTube channel. So live from the NBA Finals. I'm really glad people are tuning in because I just started this like 9 days ago. So it's been fun to see people. I see a lot of familiar faces that have been regularly joining. So really appreciate that. I'm going to take a couple more questions and then we're going to wrap. And obviously we'll do this again tomorrow. And we're doing like a post game. Actually, sorry, I just see I'm doing a pregame show with Bobby in 30 minutes. So if for some reason you need more content after this, come back in 30 minutes. We'll be going live again. That's like a stand-up. So we'll have like mics and things. So not on my computer, a little bit better quality. So yeah, that is, I have Celtics in 5 now, I think. My original prediction was 6. But I'm feeling increasingly confident in them. We'll see. We are having a media game on Thursday evening, hopefully. We're still trying to figure out the logistics, but that's my intention. We don't have a ball because we flew here, so I have to get a ball, but we will play. I don't know if we're going to have highlights. I think not everybody was thrilled about the highlights, so maybe we will, maybe we won't. Amit, the CLNS producer, has been kind of taking point on that. Let's see. Just scrolling through all these. Oh, did they really? I didn't see that. yeah, I'm always filming everything. Like my phone's always out. So that was a really funny Warford reaction. If you didn't see, he was asked about Jaylen Brown's comment about Jason Kidd's comments about Jaylen Brown being the best player on the team, and he was like started laughing, and he was like, "I know J Kidd, I know what he's doing." So yeah, I guess you can find that video on Bleacher Report. At this time of year, a lot of people picking up a lot of videos because it's like this is the only basketball that's going on, obviously. Okay, I get this question all the time, the post game thing. I would be happy to jump in. It's currently not one of the things that I do for CLNS. I'm doing pre-game shows. I'm doing this, so maybe one day you'll see me on there though. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up, but please subscribe. Noa Dalzell NBA. You can post on Twitter, tell your friends, like, comment, check out CLNS. Really appreciate the support. We had like 1,500 people on today, so I really appreciate that. I appreciate all the questions, comments, and good luck tonight. We'll have pregame coverage starting in 30 minutes on CLNS, and then we'll also have post-game coverage as always. You can catch the Garden Report. You can catch our late night hits. You will have no shortage of coverage. So have a great day, everybody, and good luck tonight.